Newton's Third Law in the Nursery, a social physics guide to calm discipline and its limits. Read by the author, D.S. Cook, for Apostoic.com. Today I'd like to expound on a metaphor that was presented some time ago in my parable, The Lazy Spinner. I don't know that it's a phenomenal metaphor. It has shortcomings and a limited scope. But it's been useful to me in parenting my children, husbanding my wife, and in dealing with interpersonal tension. I'd like to bring it back to your ears again. It relies on a concept that I like to call social physics, which is not the data science using quantitative methods, big data, and network analysis to model how ideas spread through societies on a macro level. It's not that, because I didn't know that existed when I had to invent a term for what I'm about to describe. The joys of plagiarizing in ignorance. My use of the term describes a micro-application, more domestic and practical, a lens for understanding the interpersonal forces that play against one another in social interactions, particularly where family peace is at stake. I am not a data scientist, and my illustrative phrase, social physics, is a useful way of thinking about human behavior, nothing more. Newton's third law of motion states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In the world of sticks and stones, it keeps rockets launching and ping-pong balls bouncing. But the same observation, applied metaphorically to social physics as I call them, offers a surprising tidbit of help for one of life's most challenging relationships, parent and child. As a parent learns how to correct, discipline, and direct, raise, a young mind to espouse a character that seeks to do what is right, what is honorable, what is orderly and considerate, the principle of equal and opposite reaction can be of great service. The idea is simple. When a child acts out in excessive passion or chaos, the most effective parental response is not to react with equal force in the same direction, but to apply an opposite force, calm, measured, and precisely calibrated. Matching anger with anger, for instance, is merely force of a kind, amplifying disorder and carrying the atmosphere of the home further in the direction of chaos and stress. This, of course, may briefly stop the unwanted behavior in the moment. But in the trajectory of future moments, it is to allow the chaotic mind of the child to set the direction and pace for the home life, a distinctly terrible idea. It's like appointing your 3-year-old as CEO of Calm and Order Incorporated. The company's motto becomes, "Scream first, think never," and the quarterly report is written in crayon on the walls. True opposition to the disordered behavior would counteract rather than amplify that atmosphere, decreasing the probability of moving deeper into chaos in future interactions. This principle can be supported biblically, as well as enlightened by the Stoics' revulsion of giving way to what they call the passions. Consider a common scene. A 7-year-old, excited by the promise of a playmate coming to visit, tears wildly through the house, making excessive commotion, upsetting the peace, and generally being annoying and disruptive. The passion is excessive, self-control abandoned in the excitement of the blessing that is about to occur. A mother cleaning the house, frustrated and overwhelmed by long hours of work in external or domestic realms, both more likely, erupts in yelling and angry scolding. What exactly is the child's crime? Not less than yielding to the wild animal within, as Marcus Aurelius might describe it, abandoning self-control in overly passionate display. Yet, in her reaction, the mother commits precisely the same crime, further reinforcing the child's errant idea that wild excess is the correct response to stimuli. This is none too bright, folks. Wisdom shakes her head at this oh-so-normal parenting response. As Aurelius warns, whenever you suffer pain, keep this thought at hand. Don't let it stir your emotions to excess. The ruling reason must remain stronger than the impulse. For when passion overpowers, it turns you into what you've despised, a slave to the beast within. If I could give you one phrase to cling to and repeat to yourself, it would be this: to correct a child, do not be a child. This strong statement is not meant to insult, though it has a certain tone about it. As Solomon wrote in Proverbs 15:12, a scorner loves not one that reproves him, neither will he go unto the wise. So, don't be insulted by the reproof you hear in this phrase. To correct a child, do not be a child. It is meant to show folly clearly and concisely. Surely Newton's equal and opposite reaction holds wisdom in social physics, as well as ironclad truth in natural law. The principle in emotional terms. Bullet point 1. Equal in proportion. Discipline should fit the offense. Remember Cornelius Fudge in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban? A very good piece of wisdom came from this questionable source. "Why, my dear boy," he says, "we don't send wizards to Azkaban just for blowing up their ants." Think, dear parent, if you wouldn't send your child to prison for causing a domestic annoyance, you should also not commit lesser excesses in the same logic. Here, Jordan Peterson's concept of minimum necessary force aligns beautifully. How much force should you apply to correct an unwanted behavior? Exactly so much as it takes to correct the behavior with some degree of permanence. You start with a very low force and experiment upward until it begins to work. When your level of discipline works to deter and correct the bad behavior, you have found the minimum necessary force. And once that force has created a new pattern in the child, revisit and reduce your planned discipline. Back it off a little, see if it still works, and set a new minimum. Remember the goal here, to guide the child to a point where his own conscience is sufficient to order him toward the good. Bullet point 2. Opposite in nature. Fight fire, not with fire, but water. Excessive passion demands calm authority. Chaos calls for steady order. In short, discipline needs to exemplify the opposite nature of the reaction. Anger or explosive scolding escalates the household in the same chaotic direction set by the child. It's like trying to stop a rolling bowling ball by hitting it with a baseball bat in the same direction that it's already rolling. A calm, composed response is the opposite force. Clear house rules set down on paper and then enforced without rage. Clear penalties known in advance and applied with calm consistency. Now these might get you somewhere. And yes, sometimes the minimum necessary force is physical discipline, like spanking. This should be administered with the calmest, most even-keeled demeanor you can muster. It must be an opposite force. This equal and opposite approach shines brightest in the parenting of small children. They are learning emotional regulation, largely by osmosis. When parents consistently demonstrate calm opposition to chaos, they internalize the pattern. Over time, this builds resilience, self-control, and conscience, the very foundations of virtuous character. It also has great applications in correction between spouses, siblings, or other long-term relationships. Where the metaphor breaks down. The illustration of Newton's third law has limitations. It is a helpful thought, not a universal law of human interaction. In moments of genuine threat, say, an enemy invading your home with evil intents upon your family, the opposite response of calm restraint or experimenting to find the minimum necessary force is not a good plan. This can be thought of in terms of time and space. You have 18 plus years to build the character of your child into the person you dream for him. You do not have 18 plus years to build the character of the home invader so that he no longer wants to harm your family. The timeline has been compressed to a singularity. And in a singularity, gravity pulls toward one inevitable point. Incredible force of acceleration is needed in any direction to escape the pull. The force of violence, while in the same direction of the attacker, still propels the scenario away from the singularity, the harm of one of your loved ones. The illustration falters in warfare, abusive relationships, or situations requiring immediate self-defense. Here, equal and opposite can become suicidal passivity. In other words, sometimes you just have to shoot a bad guy. Within the perimeters of establishing long-term domestic peace, however, the insight remains highly applicable. I'd go so far as to call it transformative, life-changing. In the nursery and on the playground, when small humans test boundaries through unchecked passion, parents should try to harness social physics to guide rather than escalate the atmosphere of the home. By responding with calm, proportionate opposition, we not only correct behavior in the moment, but stack the deck of future moments in a desirable manner. We teach that improvement lies not in matching every form of emotional weather, but in standing as the steady, opposite force that brings it to rest and peace. Apply it with your spouse, your cousin, your mother-in-law for a few months. Then try to come and tell me it doesn't help. The next time chaos erupts in your home, pause. Ask yourself, is my reaction adding fuel or applying the brake? In that small choice lies the difference between modeling slavery to passion and modeling mastery over it. Newton never parented, but his law reminds us that the wisest reactions don't mirror the problem, but they counter it. The end of Newton's third law in the Nursery, a social physics guide to calm discipline and its limits. For more parables, articles, social and moral commentary on current events, Stoic concepts presented from a Christian worldview, please visit Apostoic.com. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It makes a huge difference and is the best free support you can offer to Apostoic.com. Thanks for listening.
This video is brought to you by Logic Slap, a practical aid to logical taxonomy for all you peasants who can't be bothered to memorize it.